Miami Dance Hub presents Tête-à-Tête podcasts, hosted by Cameron Basden and Trisha Carter. These podcasts feature local and national arts leaders discussing trending topics in the dance world. More podcasts, other digital programming, and additional dance-related resources can be accessed via our website. For now, enjoy the show.
Our guests today are Hannah Baumgarten and Diego Salterini, co-artistic directors and founders of Dance Now Miami, presently celebrating their 20th anniversary season. So welcome, Hannah and Diego, to both of you. We are just going to jump right into questions, and the first one is directed to Diego. Diego, since this quarantine period, I know that you both felt very strongly about continuing and keeping your dancers employed and keeping your audience engaged. What adaptations have you made to continue your work?
We had to imagine this not as much as an obstacle, which definitely is, but as an opportunity, and how we can see ourselves temporarily navigating this new world of virtual reality. The dancing part was, in a sense, the easy part because, we moved everything on Zoom. We moved everything, the classes, the rehearsal, with the help of Alan Gins, Ayers, our rehearsal director. We were able to manage the dancers. It took us about a week to get situated, not very long. But it was mainly reimagining what the output, not much the process, because the process we knew how to do it. We knew we could figure it out. But what to present to the audience, what is worth presenting to the audience, what is not just self-indulging because I want to express my artistic feeling, but what is actually interesting to see on the video. Debating what is the length, what is the camera, the movement, what is the quality of the images that you present, what is interesting. So the balance between what is artistic and what is entertaining, working with the two elements. In this new environment, in this new, where people are not choosing to come to the theater to see your work, but they are within their homes with the distraction of the children, of a package from Amazon that comes, and so forth. What is the maximum I can ask to my audience?
Something Diego's also touching on is the reality of the situation. So there's also a huge amount of fatigue, whereas maybe in the past we would have been willing to sit and watch on our phone a 15 or 20-minute ballet. It's like being at a dance festival. When you know you're going to be presenting work and someone is sitting in a theater and watching piece after piece after piece after piece, you're not going to present a soft esoteric. You want to present something with a punch. So now that's the same exact thing Diego's saying. Under these circumstances, we had to look at people are sitting in front of the computer all day working. They're sitting in front of the computer all day interacting. How long are they going to actually sit in front of the computer watching dance?
So both of you, just in your experience, and maybe you've answered this a little bit, but what advice and maybe strategies can you recommend for others that are in similar situations in this present time?
Humility, understanding that this is a new environment, and understanding that we all have to learn. The regular rules that we apply in a regular creating time, they might not function. So telling ourselves, I have to learn. That's the first thing that you need to do. You need to learn, and being a little bit self-critical and understanding that some stuff that you do, while you might be very interested in presenting it, it might not be that interesting to watch. I mean, that applies pretty much to everything, but in this case, even more, I would say. Then the other thing is that don't get discouraged. This is an opportunity. We are the creative people. We need to be creating. This is our job. We don't stop being dancers. We don't stop being choreographers. We don't stop being artistic directors. We don't stop being artists. We just have to understand that this is an opportunity to investigate a new venue. I firmly believe that we will return to some sort of normal, and possibly to a regular normal. But why not explore this moment and see how our normal after COVID might be enhanced by what we're learning right now.
looking at these unique challenges that you found in being able to maintain the viewer's interest in your videos, how will that change how you create digital content moving forward? How will that affect how you create choreography that you present on stage? You spoke about that a little bit, saying, this is our time to be creative. So what of this creativity, this unique challenges that you've been presented and the unique solutions you found temporarily, what effect will that have on how you continue producing content in the future?
I think that as artists, we feel a big hole as dance artists, as performing artists, from what happened. And we're trying to find new ways to be innovative, to move forward, to satisfy our commitment to our audiences, our commitment to our art. But artists don't discard new toys. They integrate new toys. And I don't think that there's any chance that we're going to, even if we all want to just be back in the theater, in a giant contact improv, I don't think that there's any chance that we will let all this new material that we have learned how to create with the video and the online and the two-dimensionality go. We're going to bring it in. We're going to figure out how to incorporate it into the future, both when we refer to this time, but also just these are toys now that we have to add to our repertoire. And I think that everyone who has taken the risks that Diego's talking about, everyone that has been willing to just blindly leap off the cliff, because that's all we could do, we're going to have a few more toys to play with when we get back on stage. And I think that I think that as we get re-inspired, hopefully, as Diego mentioned, when we return to a time of more intimate experiences with other people and with our audiences, I think that the tools will come in very handy, and I think it's going to only enhance the production value.
Hannah, it's interesting, after you were just speaking, do you feel like you've grown during this period?
Oh, well, I think that Diego and I have grown tremendously in this period, creatively, artistically, and organizationally, just in how we face this. I think basically it's like we grew gills. We were just shoved under the water, and if we didn't grow those gills, that we wouldn't survive. And of course, it helps that there's two of us. In general, we can pull each other along, push each other along in this journey. But we have been able to face this abyss and just move right into it. And I think that in our field, there was no moment to recoil. There was no need to recoil. I was saddened by members of our field that I felt were so in shock that they couldn't move in any direction. And hearing the sadness of it, none of us is alone in the hit. Everyone is taking this together. So we may as well just plow forward and not be encumbered by the situation. I mean, the possibilities are endless, really.
So Hannah, I'm just going on with that. So how do you think that the dance industry has responded to this quarantine time? I mean, there have been some amazing projects happening and some really awesome work, but in general, how do you feel that they've responded?
Well, I think it's changed a lot. I think the sheer shock at the beginning, because literally our field had its legs cut out from under us. And I think in time people will understand that the performing arts is the industry that will be the hardest hit at the end of it all. So I think that, I think we're doing our best, but the level of uncertainty, because even in creating work now, for our audiences, even if we can satisfy our audiences to some degree, we're still not able to satisfy the basic function of dance, which is a human-to-human contact.
Right. And I know there's lots of discussion going on. Do you feel like that many people are going to take what they've learned from this period and take it into the next phase of whatever happens?
I think it's impossible not to take it into the next phase. We will adapt. We're dancers. We stand on a 2-inch block and spin on a drop of sweat that wasn't there when we did that same act yesterday. And we don't fall over. So if we are not the quintessential adaptive creatures, I don't know who is. And we adapt in the moment. So I think we're somehow some of the best qualified to do so. But I definitely think that there will be changes to the field. Mostly, I just hope that we can find a way back to the hugely important experience of live theater.
Two things. One thing that we have, when you ask about if we have grown, I don't know if I personally don't know if I have grown as an artist but one thing that I know for a fact is that I have realized that Dance Now Miami, our company, it's very resilient. We, in front of this obstacle, which really took the Marley floor from underneath us, we were able to quickly adapt, move, do something else. So that is probably both a merit of the fact that we are two of us, that we are very determined, but also because we are like a small to medium organization, we're able to pivot quickly and find with a little bit of, courage and a little bit of fantasy, imagination. That was pretty easy. The second thing is that I wanted to say is that I firmly believe that we will go back to being able to interact normally as a human being need to and should, hugging and all that stuff. You know how much I love the hugs. But I don't believe that this moment will affect our field in the sense that it will not affect the way that we will produce dance, but it will affect how the way that we present it online. Because we will go back and doing performances, which will include videos, will not include videos. We've done this for many years. Some are successful, some are not successful. But how we package it and make it available for thousands of people online, that is what we're learning how to do. But I don't think that, when you're going to do Snow White, you're going to do Snow White. You want to do, when you're going to do the Nutcracker, you're going to do the Nutcracker. You might add a couple of videos into it, or maybe an hologram once we're going to be able to do that. But I don't think that is going to necessarily change. But we are learning now the tools on how to, some of us at least, how to put something together in a way to present it in a different format. One thing that I know it because I've worked on television for a long time when I was much younger, but creating dance for the camera, it's a completely different animal than creating dance for the stage. You're working for one lens rather than hopefully 500 eyes, right? So you're working in a different perspective. So one of the things that we have focused on is not to regurgitate in a sense and try to create a theater experience in our work that we presented, but to actually use the Zoom idea and the camera idea to create something that is specific for this. So this is the things that we're learning and that will affect and will amplify our social media presence and make our work more relevant on social media. But honestly, I don't think it will affect the way that we will dance our Romeo and Juliet. Those are going to still be the same. I hope so, at least.
Eventually, the goal obviously is to go back into the theater, but this whole digital dance realm is brand new to the dance world and for many people and leaders in the dance world. I want to talk about digital seasons and what their role should be in regular seasons moving forward.
Right now, we're presenting anything that we can. We're recreating, and I mean the industry as a whole, we're recreating work that is archived that we would not normally release. We're sending out performances performed in smaller spaces. We're creating completely new product and content that is filmed and edited in this time for this moment. Now, in the past, our field has not done that because of copyright issues. There have been a lot of concerns of people releasing work because they don't want people to take it and use it and steal it. And I think for the most part, as Diego mentioned, this idea of being humble, I think even the largest organizations have humbled themselves to this moment and said, yes, come and watch our work, enjoy it. We're not going to worry if you're going to steal it or take this trademarked stuff and use it later. And I think that that's been a beautiful thing. But I think without question, the performing arts experience is unique. I think human beings need that experience of sharing the intimacy of the audience and the human vibration of the audience responding to other human beings that we're watching express the human condition through art. So I think that we will always want to keep that separate because it is different and it can never be replicated through the screen. It just can't. I think Diego and I had a conversation that maybe through some very extensive virtual reality program, but other than if all of us in suits. But on the other hand, a digital season, I think, is something that could be very progressive and very innovative for an organization to have. But it needs to be shaped. So yes, do I think it's going to happen? Absolutely. Is it going to be the same as it is right now? Definitely not. It needs to have its own existence, its own trajectory.
What I would like to add to that is that you all have seen beautiful big ballets done on video. They all are at least have 5 cameras shooting them, and takes a lot of video editing effort to do that because you can replicate or have a close to a real feeling when you really see up close and personal dancers, which is kind of replaces the feeling of being in the space. So we'll see how that is going to happen because it's a huge investment. And while there's a lot of things that you can do with the phone, there's a lot of things that you can do with now. Cameras are cheap and you can do very high resolution work, but you have to dedicate time to create something that is specifically done for the video. When you want to put, let's say, a piece like ours, like Bridges Not Walls, you want to put it on the video. You need to shoot it in a different way than what you can do with just 3 cameras looking at the performance. So I don't know. We'll see.
I think that may even open up different skill levels for people to try their technology, aspects in the dance field. So it's not just live performance on a stage, but it becomes something else to make it somewhat inspiring for an audience to come back and just see dance that's not a live performance, but dance that might be more virtual rather than live, which is always a difficult question, I think, and one that we may have to investigate as time goes on a little bit, and that you're already playing with now.
There is also how do you, and I know we're artists, we don't want to talk about that. How do you monetize that? By making it, how do you make it available, widely available, and then if you make it so beautifully done and available, then people will not come to the theater. How do you make that? So there is a lot of that we need to sit down and think about before we just openly and make it all available to the world.
I think that on that note that Diego was just saying about monetizing, but the little preface, half a sentence, is that we as dance artists particularly, we hate to talk about the money. We are all suffering huge financial losses right now. So we have already suffered financial losses, and we have a disposition that we don't like to ask for money, and we do things for free in dance, more than I think other fields. So where do we go from here so that we keep our audiences attracted, but we have to ask them to pay for it at every turn? And it's a difficult conversation, and we need to actually ask for more. And we need to not cut off the lifeblood of the arts, but let people understand that while this is sustaining them right now in their isolation, in their individual situations that we are all suffering, this is actually our job. So we're not asking the supermarket employees to work for free. We're not asking anyone who is doing their job to work for free, but it's always assumed that the art will be there for free. And it's going to be a very delicate balance of how we can encourage our audiences and not turn them away, because we're already struggling, as we mentioned, with so many different things about not getting them to change the channel, and keep us supported, because if not, we'll all just disappear.
This is an interesting time. I mean, this is interesting to see how we evolve, how do we adapt, and how we come back from it. I hope that we think about what did we really miss? What was really something that we couldn't do without at this time? and what can we actually do without? Did I really need to go out to dinner every 3 days a week? Maybe I don't. And, there is a lot of things that if we stop and think about it, we can maybe, become better human beings.
Everyone has to take stock, has to take inventory and figure out what is important when we go back, because we're going to have to pick and choose what we can do, and I don't think it's all going to return so quickly. I know that we want to go back to being an organization that dances together and presents for audiences. And we work so hard to create these incredible productions that transport people into a place in a theater where they forget everything, and there's lights and there's sound and there's curtains and there's the announcements before the show and the cocktail, and there's a whole ritual to it. The medium will change because our field is going to be the last. Being with large groups of people in enclosed places is going to be the last thing that is going to be open, allowed, and that people will feel comfortable doing. And so we're going to go outside. We're going to be bringing dance to audiences in an organized fashion. There might not be all the bells and whistles, but I think that the experience will be so genuine, and there's going to be such a renaissance of what being together means and experiencing our dance form means. It's going to bring a whole new beauty to being together and to be enjoying live performance again.
Oh, goodness. On that note, I'd like to say thank you so much to Hannah, and thank you to Diego for your very, very wonderful and inspirational perspective, and for joining Miami Dance Hub in this conversation.